So I'm in my house, and I hear a sound like a roaring airplane engine. Next thing I know, a van is flying through my side yard, takes out the fence, the cabbage patch, the neighbor's fire escape, through a kid's playground, through a garage, out the other side. High-speed chase. It's amazing nobody was hurt. We're going to talk about the high-speed chase issue today on the Fallon Forum. It is receiving increased attention, and for good reason. We'll start that conversation here in just a couple minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
This is Dr. Holding, the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
So much to talk about today. Immigration reform, Facebook landing its factory in Altoona, but of course there's a public cost to this. I want to also talk about Chuck Grassley becoming increasingly confused and confusing. But first I want to ask my bicycle. Bike, have you ever been involved in a high-speed chase?
Not that I recall.
I don't like the sound of that. We're going to continue this conversation off the air.
Okay. No. I mean, no.
Okay,
no
that's better.
at all.
That's
ever.
better. Okay. Yeah, well, and you might be capable of that on certain streets, on certain elevations, but this is a serious issue and one that I have some personal connections with, having had a high-speed chase tear through my yard years ago. It's in the news again because there have been quite a few high-speed chases in the Des Moines Metro this year alone, and there are folks who are starting to raise more questions about whether it makes a lot of sense. We've got a couple local experts on the phone with us today. Later in the program, in a couple, maybe about 10 minutes or so, Janet Obbins with the Polk County Sheriff's Office is going to join us. But we've got on the line right now Jason Halifax. Jason is a sergeant with the Des Moines Police Department. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, so again, some of us are saying, is there any case where a high-speed chase is justified, given the number of fatalities and the potential for, in some cases, even worse tragedies?
Well, I mean, we feel there is cases for it. Every chase that we take part in, or whether we initiate it or assist agencies who bring it into Des Moines, we have to look at a number of things, and they're all taken into consideration when chases begin. Ultimately, the watch commander has the final say on whether the pursuit will continue or terminate, and he or she will take into account several factors. One of those being the charges at hand.
Right.
Other things like weather conditions, time of day. Obviously, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, traffic's a little lighter than it would be at 4 in the afternoon, say. Take into account how recklessly the person we're chasing is driving. Also, a consideration has been that I've heard in the past, or that you can kind of pick up when you hear officer calling radio traffic when the chase initiates, when they begin a chase. You also look at how they are responding, the officer is responding. It's obviously, and I even quoted in today's paper as saying it's unbelievably exhilarating.
Right, yeah. That caught my attention, yes.
Yeah, and you've got, and each guy or gal reacts a little bit differently, but not just, I guess, my feeling when I get involved in a chase, but you can hear from the radio if the officer's got it together or not, and the watch commander will take all those into effect when they decide to continue it or not.
So regarding the severity of the crime, again, in the case of the van that was being pursued that tore through my front yard, knocked out a fence, a cabbage patch, the neighbor's fire escape, through a playground, through a garage, out the other side of the garage, and finally into a dumpster where it stopped. I mean, the guy's offense was a minor drug charge. That seems like that does not seem to be serious enough to warrant a high-speed chase through a residential neighborhood during the middle of the day. And I mean, and the kids had been playing in that playground just shortly before the incident. It could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, it sounds like, from what I don't know specifically about your incident. I don't know how long ago that was.
Back in the 90s, almost 20 years ago.
Okay, I was actually before I worked here then. But we don't always know why they're running. It could be something as simple as you've had people run indicating they ran because they were have a suspended license or something like that, or it could be something much larger. You don't always know that.
Well, but in that case, why not err on the side of caution and say, this is not worth the effort? And you indicated too that if the person being pursued seems to be very intent on really going hard at it, you take that into consideration, presuming that, I'm guessing that if that offender is going to be deemed to be more aggressive on the road, you might back off. Is that true?
It can be sometimes, and I've heard that happen, depending on, again, each case. But the other side of that is as they get more aggressive on the road, that may raise level of offense. If I'm chasing a car, maybe they're just speeding a little bit, and then I get a squad car next to them, and now they swerve at the car.
Yeah,
that's actually an offense. You're assaulting an officer by swerving at his car. Now you raise level of offense there, and if it gets to a certain speed above the posted limit, that makes it a felony.
Okay.
So we have to be afforded some level of enforcement. Otherwise, anyone could just get in their car and drive away from us on any offense.
Sure.
And we can't chase them. And
But you can always get the license plate and track them down later, perhaps, right?
It depends. It depends on that.
Yeah.
You know, certainly they could swap plates or have no plates on the car.
Right.
Certainly see that plenty of times as well.
Yeah, it just, I mean, especially again in my case with again middle of the day residential neighborhood, again kids had just been out playing, you know, and there's no way of predicting what could have happened if they had been still out playing. You know, it just seems like there might be some standards we might want to consider that would, you know, eliminate the use of high-speed chases in circumstances like that.
Well, and you know, perhaps as we press on in the future here, we'll have more technologies available to us as well. I know 20 years ago we were not using what we term the pit maneuver, and that's a maneuver now that we use to disable car chases, and that's something that, like I said, 20 years ago we weren't doing that.
What is that called again? The pit maneuver?
PIDS. PIT's actually an acronym. It's Pursuit Intervention Technique.
Pursuit Intervention Technique.
Intervention Technique.
Intervention Technique. Okay.
And 20 years ago we didn't have that training, or we weren't authorized to use that. I'm not certain when that came into play nationally. I know when I went through the academy in '97, we were trained in that. I believe we were maybe only the second academy class have gotten that. So I think '96 when we started teaching that to our academy classes as well as in-service trained officers as well.
And what does that involve? What kind of a maneuver is that?
It's a way we use a squad car to basically bump the rear end of the fleeing party's car, and it throws them to 180-degree spin.
Well, that could cause even more trouble, couldn't it?
Well, we have limits on when we can do it. Speeds, and weather conditions will be taken into account with that. Types of vehicle are taken into account. But there's another way you can remedy the situation depending on a number of factors that are all taken into account when the pursuit begins.
One more question, Sergeant. Is there any interest or willingness on behalf of the police department to consider, you know, more tight standards as to when a high-speed chase is authorized?
It's something that's under pretty much constant consideration. Now, all the chiefs in the metro area we've all been in agreement in the past and have agreed on a pursuit policy that we all try to follow. And that's actually being looked at again here. I know our Captain Dykstra is chairing the committee, and the other chiefs have all submitted the names of folks they're going to have. We're going to relook at that at our chase policy and just take considerations into effect there.
Well, if you need somebody to testify as to why it's a bad idea in the middle of the day in a residential neighborhood, I volunteer.
Very well. I'll pass that along to him.
All right. Hey, Sergeant Jason Halifax of the Des Moines Police Department, thank you so much, Sergeant, for taking the time to join us.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
We're going to move to another phone call, this one from Janet Obbins with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. Janet, thank you for being with us as well.
Sure. Thanks for having us on today.
And I don't know how much of the previous conversation with Sergeant Halifax you were able to catch, but I'm wondering if the position of the Polk County Sheriff's Office is similar to the Des Moines Police Department in terms of the standards by which it's able, you would decide to use a high-speed chase.
I believe it is similar. It sounds like most of the metro agencies, our policies for pursuit driving mirror each other.
Okay. Now, the Sheriff Bill McCarthy is quoted in today's paper saying that law enforcement officers don't hesitate to call off chases that become too dangerous. So,
right. We leave that discretion up to the officer and the supervisor who's in charge of the shift at that time.
Okay. And what kind of standards, and I mean, I assume there's some training involved with that, some recommendations, some guidelines. What standards, what conditions are considered too dangerous and might end up, resulting in a chase being called off?
Well, things that we would take into consideration are road conditions, time of day, location, what's the volume of traffic like in that location, what kind of vehicle, and the reason for the initial pursuit, why it began.
Okay. Now, again, I presume that most of the high-speed chases that would occur here in the Des Moines Metro, here in Polk County, would probably be under the jurisdiction of a city police department. Is that correct?
Well, I can really only state from what we've experienced here in the Sheriff's Office. This year, in 2013, so far we've had 4. 2012, we had 1. 2011, we had 5. So there isn't a large number that we become involved in at the sheriff's office.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know, is there often coordination between your office and city police departments?
We try to monitor what's going on with other agencies during the day. Each officer on the shift tries to pay attention to what's going on in other agencies. So if we do hear of something like that on the police radio, we can respond accurately and with the appropriate action.
Okay, and I guess same question I had for Sergeant Halifax too. In the situation that I experienced, where again a van being chased tore through my front yard, through the fence, through my garden, actually destroying my cabbage patch, and destroying the neighbor's fire escape, going through one side of the garage, out the other side of the garage, finally coming to rest on a dumpster. But again, the part that bothered me most was coming through a backyard and through a playground where kids had been playing just not that long ago. And this was for a minor drug offense during the middle of the day in a residential neighborhood. I mean, I feel strongly that ought to be, that the decision then ought to be, hey, we're not going to allow this. This is not a circumstance under which we would consider a high-speed chase appropriate.
Well, we're mindful of the dangers, but we respect the training of our employees and their ability to make sound judgments. So we can never predict what's going to happen. We can never predict what the driver of the vehicle is going to do. But if we feel that it's necessary to pursue them, we have the discretion to make that. But if we also deem that there are too many dangers involved, we also have the discretion to discontinue.
Okay. So, given in recent days, there's been kind of a higher profile conversation publicly about this issue. Is there any interest on the part of the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Office, to consider revising its policy on this?
Well, we do have conversations between law enforcement agencies, and recently there's been a suggestion for representatives from the metro agencies to meet and review our pursuit policies that we do have in place currently. This was done in about 10 years ago, and they've decided it's time to do that again. So it's definitely something that's reviewed pretty often. So it's on the minds of our command staff. Okay.
Well, again, if you need somebody to testify as to why it's a bad idea, and again, I wouldn't say in all circumstances, but yeah, if you're pursuing the Boston Bombers, maybe especially at night, as happened, maybe that makes sense. But gosh, in some circumstances, it just seems to be a very wrong decision that ends up creating more havoc and more risk for injuries and deaths even than otherwise. But my opinion, for what it's worth.
Sure, and as much as we do want to apprehend suspects and criminals, we're definitely going to keep the safety of the public and the officers involved in mind. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, and thank you for your efforts on behalf of the securing the public safety here in Polk County. And again, I do hope there is more conversation about this, because in my own opinion, and from what I'm hearing from others too, it would not be a bad time to think about tightening up the policy. But all right. Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much for joining us, Janet. Janet Obbins, folks, she's with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for backing the Fallon Forum. And I also want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show. Gateway, of course, is at 20th and Woodland in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. A great place not just for grocery shopping, and again, a lot of that food comes from local sources, but also a fantastic cafe for breakfast, lunch, and supper, and of course, a catering service as well. So keep your dollars here local, folks. Don't send them down to Austin, Texas, or anywhere else out of state. Support a local business. Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland. I also want to thank the Natural Living Expo for helping to sponsor this program. Natural Living Expo's 8th annual expo coming up on May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building on the state fairgrounds. That's a 2-day event, 150 vendors. You can learn a lot about sustainable living, about new healthcare technologies and initiatives, and about green building design. Lots of stuff going on. It's free, no cost to get in. What you learn could be significant. Heck, you might even find some inspiration for launching your own business in some kind of green technology. That's the Natural Living Expo, folks. You can find more information online
But again, that's May 18th and 19th at the Polk County Fairgrounds in the 4-H building. I'll be back in a few minutes. I got a couple other things I got to talk about today, burning in my craw. Facebook, okay? My status update says, wait, why are we giving so much public money for the creation of 31 jobs? We're going to have that conversation. I want to talk about Chuck Grassley becoming increasingly irrelevant, in my opinion. Anyway, we'll get your take on that. But Max Wellman's going to join us. Max is a local musician. You guys got to know Max. The Max Wellman Trio. We're going to hear about his latest ventures, and stick around. You can always tune in, folks, with a phone call if you want as well. If you want to join the conversation, it's 244-0077.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks, and that is Mr. Baber's Neighbors bringing us back to our conversation. Max Wellman's joining us shortly, but I got to tell you, Facebook. You know, I'm a fan of Facebook. I think I was the first adult ever to be a part of Facebook. I got involved, I want to say 2004. The young people on my campaign for governor signed me up. I never saw the business side of it for 2 years. Somebody else ran it, and I think my first 500 friends were all late teens, early 20s. But again, it's really taken off. It's a fun tool. It's also a good way to network. It's created a whole alternative to the mainstream media. I like Facebook. Overall, I know there are folks who don't. I do. I like Facebook, and I'm not unhappy about seeing 31 jobs come to Altoona. But what bothers me is the $18 million in tax credits that Facebook is going to get to land in Altoona. And apparently all this was happening under the table. Of course, that's the new approach to, quote, economic development. We don't get to talk about it. Even though this thing was happening for, 18 months, this little behind-the-scenes battle between Iowa and Nebraska, we had no say in the matter. We had no knowledge of it. Boom, it just dropped on us like that. $18 million in our money going for Facebook, plus, it doesn't end there, plus an $8 million refund of sales and use taxes. Now, I would love to get some sales tax refunds myself. That would be really cool. I would have to spend more money to have it actually matter. And then you've also got $10 million in tax credits. So we're looking at, what's that? 28, $36 million. $36 million for, drum roll please, 31 jobs. Over $1 million per job. I mean, I don't know how many ways to say that's foolish. That is just crazy. That is ridiculous. But you start looking at the pattern. Google getting $1.4 million in tax credits, plus $3.6 million in refunds for sales tax, plus another $7.2 million in tax credits. Then you've got Microsoft. It just keeps adding up, and I don't know where it stops. Governor Branstad is just drooling all over himself, including a picture with him with a shovel and a hat, to give more and more of our tax dollars to a handful of big companies. And yet he can't support a modest appropriation for the food banks, among other things. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And of course, the worst offender in all this, Orascom, an Egyptian fertilizer company, $251 million in public money for, I think, 164 jobs? I mean, just incredible. It is absolutely astounding what they are getting away with. And they're doing most of it behind closed doors. Now, recently, just last week, in fact, because of the big fertilizer explosion in West Texas, and again, very tragic, people are asking, so what happens with Orascom if this should happen? Orascom was asked. And according to the Register, they dodged questions about public safety. And again, these questions are certainly on our mind after what happened in West Texas. Now, you would think, the Register asked, that executives at Orascom would want to assure Iowans that its plant will be safe, especially since we're footing the bill to the tune of $250 million. But when contacted by the Register, the company spokesman declined to comment. Now, this is a company, again, that's going to land huge revenues. And they should, at the very least, explain their safety plan in case of a explosion such as has happened. Not just, again, this is not just something that happened in Texas. Back in 2008, remember, it happened up in the Sioux City area as well. Okay? I do not know why the public allows these companies to get away with extortion, and then to get away with behavior risks that are unacceptable. All right. We talked about high-speed chase and the risks involved there. Well, this stuff is even worse. Anyway, we're going to talk more about that, I'm sure, as information about it moves forward. But I want to welcome Max Wellman to the show. Max, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
How's your trio?
Well. It's great. I'm here to lighten the mood for you a little bit.
Oh,
I'm like the
that's no
palate
fun.
cleanser here on the Fallon Forum.
Well, good. I think we do need a mood lightener after talking about high-speed chases.
Let's talk about music.
Fertilizer plant explosions. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got a songbird project. You've got a concert coming up. What's the latest?
Yeah. Well, we're gearing up for pretty much gearing up for the summer right now, which is going to be very, very busy. Got lots of great big performances, particularly in June. I'm working with the Des Moines Metro Opera Company on a concert for their opening weekend.
Oh, really?
And the Arts Festival, Wine Fest. It's a great month. But that's June. Right now, what I'm doing is kind of I'm continuing to work on my songbook project, which is a music subscription service, kind of. Ed, you are a subscriber yourself this year. We're getting ready to send out the second disc here tomorrow. It will go out.
And they land in your mailbox.
Yes,
and it's nice. It's a hard, tangible thing that you can Everybody likes nice mail. I mean, how much of my mail is junk or bills?
Right.
And when I get something from Max Wellman, it's warm and fuzzy.
That's right.
And I tend to pop it right into my computer and listen to it for a while.
And there you go.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're still accepting subscribers for. If you like jazz and standards, that kind of throwback Americana music, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you do, you would you would particularly enjoy this. And you also get big ticket discounts for any concerts that I put on. So.
Right. The Songbook Project, it's a great deal.
We cover a different composer or songwriter with each disc. People like Duke Ellington or George Gershwin, and like I said, Cole Porter is going out tomorrow. So
I love Cole Porter.
Yeah,
Duke
it's
Ellington.
great.
Yeah.
So if you like that music, you can always get a hold of my contact information at my website, which is maxwellmanmusic.com. That's maxwellmanmusic.com.
Now, a little known fact, Max, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I dropped out of college after 2 years.
Oh.
In order to move to Boston to be a jazz musician.
Right. I know we've talked about this.
Okay, we did talk about that. Yeah. I had
It's one of the things I like about you.
What, that I dropped out of college?
Right.
Well, I did get back in eventually, and it only took me 10 years to get my undergraduate degree.
All right.
The one thing I had in common with John Belushi. For different reasons, but no, it was good. I mean, it was light stuff. It was kind of music you do, and I was a piano player. I had a singer, a lot of Ellington, a lot of Gershwin, a lot of Cole Porter, Billie Holiday,
beautiful music.
Yeah, it's just they're classics. I mean, gosh, how many years have gone by since those tunes were first composed and first popularized, and they're still immensely popular and incredibly beautiful.
Well, the way that the way I talk about it a lot is. Because my background is kind of split between classical music and
I didn't realize that.
Jazz standards. Yeah, I'm a classically trained singer, and that's how I was kind of brought up.
That shows.
And the thing that I loved about that music, of course, I listened to all kinds of music, all kinds of classical music, but the art songs in particular written, over the past couple of hundred years, by composers were things that I particularly enjoyed. Song cycles, short. When people started writing songs for singers that were, between 3 and 5 minutes long and could be performed in a cafe type setting.
Right.
And I see music like, again, those songwriters, the American songwriters we're talking about, Duke Ellington, Cole Porter, Gershwin, all of them. I think it's just a continuation of that tradition.
Yeah, well, good. And now let me ask you one more question. You mentioned you got a bunch of interesting stuff coming up in June, including a concert at the beginning of the Des Moines Metro Opera's season.
Yes.
So are we going to hear Max Wellman singing opera style?
Oh, well, we'll see. I could slip it in there.
So it'll still be your jazz
Yes, music, it's at a reception following the opening of their season that first weekend. We did it last year. It's a great party.
Okay.
They're a terrific organization.
Yes.
I really am astounded by them every year with the quality of productions that they put on right here in Iowa. I mean, it's really a renowned program.
We had Don Giovanni on the Fallon Forum last year.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was great.
Well, yeah, they truly do a terrific job, so I'm always happy to partner with them.
Yeah, so let me ask you, the Des Moines just accomplished something exceptional in terms of art and music. Music in particular.
Yeah.
Ticket sales ranked Des Moines. Des Moines Performing Arts ranked 9th, not just nationally, 9th worldwide for ticket sales in the first quarter of this year.
Yes.
Worldwide.
Now, that's a little bit...
okay. Am I missing something?
No. Well, it's Des Moines Performing Arts, formerly just known as the Civic Center.
Right.
That is being ranked, and that truly is a fantastic accomplishment.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to clarify it wasn't like citywide.
Okay, I thought I didn't realize the Civic Center had changed its name.
Well, yeah, not
That's
a lot
news
of people
me.
have. Yeah, it was quite a campaign. They brought in all kinds of consultants, I think, to come up with this new name, Des Moines Performing Arts.
So why? I mean, and we outrank Minneapolis, Omaha. Why do we do so well? What's going on here that we're doing?
I don't know the exact specifics to the criteria in that that ranking system, but I believe it is specific venues. So they're ranked up against people at least in their class.
Well, that's
although it is truly phenomenal. I mean, you see people on that list, like I believe Caesar's Palace is on there.
I mean, Mexico City's Auditorio Nacional is first. The Royal Albert Hall in London is second. Yeah, then Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas is third. I don't know about 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, but we're in that
That's
group.
truly
We're ninth.
great. Yeah,
that's amazing.
I mean, the thing to highlight there is that it's particularly the Broadway series at the Civic Center is just wildly popular right now.
Yeah.
And what I would like to see that translate into is maybe a little bit more of an active participation by the city in a truly local music scene. Because I think that, we're making a lot of headlines right now with our city, how
mostly
we're kind
good.
of rising. Yes, mostly. But a lot of, I'd like to see some bigger crowds out at the local bands shows. Even, a couple of days ago, I was at a great show now this is Mars Cafe, who, they are a music venue, but not, that's not their shtick, typically, although they have live music all the time. And there was a great local performer there, Dustin Smith. And, I had the night off, so I went down there. And there were maybe a dozen people there, which I thought was really a shame. It was a fantastic show. And that happens every night somewhere. So I think we have to somehow get it into the public mind that it's a thing. There are things to do in Des Moines after 7 o'clock that,
well, and beyond that,
are organic to hear.
If you value culture, you got to go out and support it. You can't just let it happen.
Yeah, and I don't mean I don't mean to sound like some cranky musician or anything. I'm an optimist about it, but truly, I think that is. I don't think people realize the impact they can have on a small event like that. I mean, you look like that would have been a successful concert probably if 10 to 15 more people would have come.
Yeah.
And so I would say that the average citizen, you just got to know that you can have a real impact by going out and supporting. It's just like supporting local businesses.
Right.
When you're small or operate on that kind of, not on a national level or anything, you truly do value any customer that comes through your door or anyone that buys a ticket to your show.
Yeah. And part of the problem is, and this is a great problem, there is so much happening in Des Moines.
Yes.
I mean, I now refer to Des Moines as the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent.
That's something.
There's so much happening. I mean, again, if folks like me who remember 10, 15, 20 years ago when it was Des Moines, when the only thing happening in downtown after 5 o'clock was Spaghetti Works for dinner and Java Joe's for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the cultural scene of Des Moines
Now, here's
15, 20 years ago.
I think the culinary world in Des Moines is a truly shining example of how to kind of engage the community and elevate the level of quality, with the restaurants that we've had come up here in the past decade that have opened.
Right.
And I think the music community could learn something from that,
Yeah. Well, again, it's nice to see the city, the county, the state step forward to support this kind of initiative. But again, most of what's happened has come from individuals, people who entrepreneurs, folks like Zach Mannheimer, and Matt McIver at the Social Club. I mean, they just came with an idea, a vision, a dream, and
they were relentless.
They've raised over $3.5 million to buy a fire station and make it into a hot cultural venue.
Yeah, and as a musician, I look at efforts like that, or even when they decided to open Centro downtown, people probably thought it was nuts, but they had a vision, and you just have to force the bill a little bit. Raise the bar and do it, and hopefully people will come.
Well, Max, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
And folks, if you want to get more information about Max Wellman's Songbook Project, you can go to maxwellmanmusic.org, correct?
.com.
Sorry,
maxwellmanmusic.com.
But if you typed in maxwellmanmusic.org,
just Google me.
You'd probably get it anyhow. But .com.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right, folks. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Charles Grassley again. Steve King is normally who we turn to for political embarrassment in this state, but Grassley is making a good run at it as well. He's a contender. I'm sorry to say, but We will talk briefly about that, and then we're going to talk with Sandra Sanchez with the American Friends Service Committee about the immigration reform bill. Do I say moving through the U.S. Congress? I don't know. Languishing in the U.S. Congress? Before the U.S. Congress. We're going to talk with her about that bill when we come back here on the Fallon Forum. I do want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. They're at 3816 Ingersoll Ave, and we're about done with tax season. Of course, you've still got till May 1st to pay your state taxes, but it's not too early to be thinking about the big picture, the long haul. And just as I would never want to try to fix my own plumbing problem, nor would I want to try to fix my own tax and accounting problem. So I go to Ying Sa. Give her a shout, folks, at 288-3188, 288-3188. And while we're on the subject of great cultural opportunities, that championship season just opened last week at the Des Moines Social Club. This is the Repertory Theater of Iowa's new production that kind of looks at 4 aging basketball stars. And it isn't just a sports flick at all. It's a very interesting human drama. And again, director Richard Maynard has done a great job. That's again this week, next week at the Des Moines Social Club, 400 Walnut Street. So go to www.rtiowa. That's repertorytheateroiowa.org. I'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H Building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm not the guy who cared about love. I'm not the guy who cared about fortunes and such.
That is Max Wellman, who was with us the last segment. And as we move into the final segment here, we will shortly welcome Sandra Sanchez to the program to discuss the immigration reform bill moving through the U.S. Congress. But I want to take a second to reflect on Charles Grassley. I will admit, I voted for him once years ago. This is before I was a Democratic state legislator. It was during the first Gulf War, when Grassley was one of only 2 Senate Republicans to vote against going to war. That took some courage. That was not a popular vote with some elements of the electorate. I specifically went out to a church in Altoona to meet with him the following week at a community meeting, and I thanked him and said I would vote for him because of that. Now, maybe that was a bad idea, but I did. I was like, I wanted to keep my word. Because Senator Grassley used to have an independent streak, used to make sense. He has made less and less sense in recent years, and 2 letters to the editor kind of make that case pretty clearly. One is from David Mansheim from Parkersburg, who in today's paper writes, has Senator Grassley left the Republican Party for the Tea Party? Last week he voted against having criminals and the insane undergo a background check before purchasing a gun. In doing so, he voted with the NRA and against the 90% of us who support common sense safety measures. He even voted in favor of the filibuster to prevent debate. He gins up the fears of the far right with comments like, quote, the next step will be gun confiscation. Again, nobody's talking about gun confiscation. The letter writer continues, Grassley is good at fomenting fear. Remember when he disseminated fear of health insurance reform by thundering that we, quote, should not pull the plug on grandma, and when he spread the, quote, death panel lie. David concludes by saying Grassley has turned into the Michelle Bachmann of the cornfields. It's a well-written letter. It is unfortunately, in my opinion, a lot of truth to it. And I would like, again, I voted for this guy once. He used to be an independent thinker, a critic of government waste, of military exploits that made no sense. I remember meeting him in anytime I would go to Washington, D.C., and I probably went there on 5 or 6 occasions to lobby. He was always willing to meet with us. I usually got to meet with Harkin. Never got to meet with Jim Ross Lightfoot. Never with Neil Smith. But our 2 U.S. senators were always good at that. But what has he become? Well, one more letter. This one from Steve Houff from Clinton, who writes, what an embarrassment for Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley is. Quote, quoting Grassley here, we appreciate the ability to talk about immigration, particularly in light of the events in Boston, Grassley said. Now, I mean, and Steve calls that despicable. I mean, and I'm trying to think of what was in his mind by having to make that connection. I just don't understand that at all. But again, Grassley is hard to fathom on the background check issue when it comes to guns, on the immigration issue. And again, what we have before Congress right now is a very, very modest proposal that has received bipartisan support. And Grassley is still against that. Welcoming to the conversation here, let's have Sandra Sanchez join us. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you.
Sandra, and you're with the American Friends Service Committee.
That's correct.
And again, a lot of your work focuses on immigration.
Right.
So I presume you're tracking this bill more closely than I am.
Absolutely. I hope
so. We talked about it a bit last week with Lori Chesser, with an immigration attorney with the Davis Law Firm, and her position was, I think, just keeping an eye on it, hopeful. So far, so good. Who knows where it's going to go? What's your take on what is currently before the U.S. Senate?
In general, we believe that in AFSC that is a much better bill than what was proposed in 2007. However, it has areas of concern related to border security and related to mandatory detention, filling detention beds in different facilities. And it's a contradiction because in other part of the bill, they are proposing to use some alternatives to mandatory detention. So it is a little bit confusing in that sense.
So what are the concerns relevant to border security specifically?
In my opinion, I think that the border is very secure as it is right now. We don't need to spend another $3 billion on that or more, because the bill says that it can add another $5 billion later if the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security doesn't comply with the requirements. The requirements expect to have what they consider 90% security, but they haven't defined what they would consider a secure border.
So when you say 90% security, what does that mean?
Exactly. That's
my
question.
You're the same question. All right.
What do you mean by that? How do you define the border is secure? What do you mean by that? They are going to expand the use of drones, the use of biotechnology when people enter and leave the country, and a number of things that, in my opinion, can jeopardize privacy of citizens and residents, visitors, and so forth and so on, and also discourage many visitors to come in. So in my opinion, also is discouraging to see that will be mostly spent on the Mexico-U.S. border. Is not going to be equally spent on the border with Canada. So that speaks a lot of what they are thinking.
Yeah, but the argument there, of course, is that, well, that's where most of the illegal traffic is coming from. And I don't know the detail on that data, but that's the argument that will be made.
Illegal trafficking is coming through many different ways.
Yeah, okay.
It's not just the Mexico-U.S. border.
So what do you think about Chuck Grassley connecting the horrific Boston bombings with immigration, with the immigration reform effort?
I think that it was very unfortunate and really inappropriate because, I mean, we have had tragedies like that. There are domestic terrorism, and these persons came here as children. So making the connection that they brought that violence with them, to me sounds completely is a stretch of the imagination and completely inappropriate to connect it with the immigration reform bill.
Well, to me, the Boston bombing feels more like a Sandy Hook or a Columbine or a young person who is somehow got so messed up.
Right.
That they can somehow justify doing this.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is not, and again, I mean, I know the older brother was Islamic, but I guess we'll never know his motives.
Right.
Hopefully, we'll get some conversation from the younger brother and sort it out. I mean, I think it is important to try to understand what motive was behind this.
Not only that, but in my opinion, it was very premature because we don't know all the facts yet.
Right.
So,
Yes.
it's like, why are you saying that at this point?
Yeah, you're right. He's been accused but not found guilty.
Well, let's say that he's guilty. Let's assume that he's guilty.
It's a good presumption.
We don't know the facts. We don't know what prompted them to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that may or may not have absolutely anything to do with being immigrants or not.
Yeah. So what do you think Grassley meant when he said we appreciate the ability to talk about immigration, particularly in light of the events in Boston? I mean, I don't really.
I don't get it. And I completely agree with your first comments that the Grassley I knew from years ago is very different than the Grassley that we are seeing today. So I would hope that he can get back to be a reasonable man, reasonable representative in Congress, to really listen to his constituents, because the large majority of Iowans as well are in support of humane immigration reform.
Now, and you've worked for a long time on a variety of peace justice issues, and you've been aware of Charles Grassley's performance as a U.S. Senator for a long time. So you would agree that something is different about the Grassley of the recent years.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know what happened. Like you said, he was very open. He always listened to our concerns. He was respectful. Sometimes we wouldn't agree, but he was always respectful and listening. And lately, we haven't been able to meet with him. We haven't been able to be heard. And I believe that is very different. And also his comments are more extreme than what we used to hear from him.
Yeah, they're not that different than Steve King's comments.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that is very concerning because, in my opinion, I respected his position, even if I disagree, just because he was very honest in those positions and very open in saying why.
Right.
Now it just doesn't really make sense. So I wonder where is this coming from?
So you've done a lot of lobbying over the years, and in the past you had plenty of opportunities to ask for a meeting with Senator Grassley, and you were successful at getting those meetings.
Always, always available, either in person or by conference call. And in the recent years, it has been impossible to meet with him.
That is interesting because I mean, my experience, I haven't really tried to meet with him in recent years, but years ago, I mean, going to Washington, D.C., he was one of the 7 members of the delegation, back then there were 7, that you could count on meeting with. He would always take the time to meet with you.
Yes.
In fact, I had a fascinating experience. I was traveling with someone else who also had a bad back, and the last stop of the day before getting on the train to go out to the airport was Senator Grassley's office. We met with him, and then we went out to the waiting room. The office was closing for the day, and we had our luggage with us, and we're both like just grimacing with back trouble. His assistant, his secretary, a burly woman from farm ground in central Iowa, carried our luggage. We tried to, like, oh, you shouldn't do that, but she insisted on carrying our luggage from his office to the metro station.
Oh,
I mean, to me, that was a reflection. I mean, it wasn't just her doing a good deed. It was a reflection of the kind of public service he expected from his office.
Exactly.
And it's changed. And I'm trying to sort out why. I mean, is it pressure from the Tea Party? Is he declining in mental clarity and physical health? I don't really know what it is, but I think it's clear to a lot of people that he's not the same senator we used to know and that I once voted for.
That is correct. And nevertheless, he's going to have town hall meetings next week. And we hope that through being in one of those town hall meetings, we might be able to be heard. There are several concerns that we have in regard to the bill that we want him to know about them. He has made certain comments that we believe will be in detriment of moving along this proposal, and we really don't want that to happen. This is our best chance to really fix what has been a very broken immigration system for decades. So we really need to pay attention to this, and we need his support to pass this in the Senate.
Yeah, and again, it's not what you would call a great bill, but it's better than what we were considering in 2007.
Absolutely.
And this is 6 years later. Nothing has happened in the last 6 years. So, gosh, we gotta, if there's, if progress happens in increments, then this is a fairly significant increment compared to what we might expect.
That is correct. And like I was saying, it's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely better. And we definitely need to know who is in the country to have all these about 11 million people that are undocumented in the United States to be registered, to know where they live, to know they are supposed to pass criminal checks and security background checks. So it will be better for our nation to do that. And not only that, but it also will improve the recovery of the economy. So I believe that this will be best for America.
Right. Well, let's hope that something continues to move forward. And again, if folks want to get more information about your work, Sandra, if they want to learn more about what's planned at the public hearings that Grassley has scheduled here in Iowa, where should they go to find out more information?
We are in 4211 Grand Avenue, and our phone number is 515-274-4851, or they can visit also our webpage. It's afsc.org,
okay.
And they can find all sorts of information there. Okay. And there will be also some actions. They can look us up at AFSC Sanchez for any recent action.
Okay. That's AFSC as an American Friends Service Committee.org at 4211 Grand Ave. And again, the phone number is 274-4851, 274-4851. Well, Sandra, I hope people do turn out for that public hearing, and I hope you get a better response from Grassley than folks concerned about healthcare reform got from him years ago when he again, said this is going to be death panels for grandma.
Right. I don't want to give up on him yet. So hopefully he will change his mind.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Sandra Sanchez, folks.
Bye-bye.
And I want to thank a couple of our sponsors, Hawk Restaurant. Hawk Restaurant, 90% of the food you find at Hawk Restaurant comes from Iowa farms and local producers. They're located at East 5th and Walnut in the East Village neighborhood. Again, not just lunch, but also supper and Sunday brunch. One of my other favorite restaurants in the Des Moines Metro, Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering up in Beaverdale. Tally's owner and chief chef, Robert Sanda, do a fantastic job as well. And this time of the year, we're getting darn close to where you can enjoy the rooftop patio and also an additional outdoor seating area right there on Beaver Ave. It's a great location, folks, with a nice variety of food. That's Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Ave. I'll be back tomorrow, and, we've got Dan Kelly joining us tomorrow. And Keisha Phillips, she's winding down her interesting journey through pregnancy, and she's been sharing it with us. We're also going to talk with Cheryl Thomas, and we'll get into the gun issue with her, the background check issue, and some other developments on that front. Thanks so much for being with us, folks. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer, and Webcast One Live for providing this studio.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician.
From Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.